Okay, welcome to the stream, the weird late night stream for no particular reason whatsoever. This episode of One Page Story Extravaganza is brought to you by Bob's House of Fish. We stay open late for the halibut. It's also endorsed by The Craft Hive, the coolest supply store for arts and crafts in St. Thomas, Ontario, Canada. Check it out. It's also supported by Fake Explosion, Fake Bands, Real Music. Fantastic channel to check out here on Facebook. The link is up there on the screen. Just type in the Fake Explosion into YouTube, you'll find it. You won't regret it. It's all the songs and tunes in general for the films of professional animator Jim Luan. And, little secret, he's loading up a whole bunch of new stuff. So that's awesome news. Okay, so as always, we usually put this request forward during the streams. Do you have a one-page comic idea? If you got a one-page story idea, don't be afraid. Tell us. Join in. Okay, so I got the tabletop here in this shot in the scene, and let's put this goofball up here. Where is he? Oh, hi. Yeah. So just there you go. Bear with me. Okay. So hi. I'm doing a late night. I don't normally do that. So whoever's tuning in, welcome. You're one of us now. Earlier today, in my previous stream, I talked about some ways of placement and how you can look at building up a composition within a frame of reference. Things like the three values that you can use in the course of it: black, gray, white. How you can use foreground, middle ground, and background, and the separations there in correlation with those three, whatever combinations you like. And then you try to establish it along the rules of thirds. And a way to break down these really quickly is using simple shapes. Anyways, at the end of the stream, I came up with Guy Gets Gothic Toupee, which is today's suggestion from Yolanda. And so now I'm just looking for some paper to work on and listening to Big Audio Dynamite, which honestly, even I'm surprised by. So, hi, Barbara. Welcome aboard. Yeah, welcome, Barbara. I got some fun different textured papers or different levels of soft press paper that we're going to have some fun with. And, we'll see what we can do with that. Anybody that wants to jump in to conversation, you're always welcome to do so. If you're just watching from the balcony, as they say it, or lurking, or whatever else people want to call it, don't be afraid. People are nice here. Barbara, if you're still here, if you can name a song by Big Audio Dynamite, that'd be fun for me. And if anybody knows what the origin of Big Audio Dynamite is as a band, this is going back to the 80s. Anyhow, all right, so Barbara's joining us. Anybody else that's joining us, congratulations, welcome aboard. We're going to have some fun. Okay, so I've got this paper. It's got this soft press to it. The difference between soft press and hard press when it comes to papers is the difference of hot press and cold press. A cold press plate. So that means that the big metal plates are slammed down on the pulp in order to make the paper or whatever weight. There's no heating application to it whatsoever. So when it compresses the pulp still has some texture, some rigidity to it. Barbara says, correlation? I can't speak big words like that at this hour, and sorry, I have no idea what you just requested. It's past my bedtime. Okay, well, I was just wondering if you knew any of the Big Audio Dynamite songs, Barbara, that's all. Okay, Barbara sings songs. In any of the streams that I've noticed her on, she always comes up with fantastic little insertions of song lyrics, and people appreciate it. Okay, the difference between the cold press, cold plate, and hot press paper is hot press paper, which will still hit the paper, the pulp, and make the same weighted sheets. But the difference being is that hot plate presses, the metal plate that comes down is heated up. And so when it compresses the paper with whatever level of weight for whatever thickness of paper you're going to get, it is smooth because of the heated plate. So how that affects your life in the future, I don't know. But what I thought was I'd just get into throwing together tonight's page. I want to paint a little bit because it is just prescutis, you know. And so I've got, oops, I'll take that out there, Barbara, thank you. I've got some different colored pencils kicking around, and I've got some watercolor paint set up. I'm using a Zorn palette. The Zorn palette is, I'll write it down on here for you. But the Zorn palette that I'm using is vermilion, which is like an orange-red, right? And then I've got yellow ochre for my yellow, okay? And then I've got a Prussian blue, or like a deep, really deep bluey blue, right? And then I've got a burnt sienna. So it's brown. And then we've got shades and tints. So that's the Zorn palette. Peas porridge hot, peas porridge cold. Peas porridge in the pot, 9 days old. There we go. Fonzie, Billy Billy. Anyways, I used to hear the girl in the building next to mine growing up that would always be singing it as she's bouncing those old rubber red, white, and blue balls against the ball. Billy Blue balls, like they were called. And yeah, top of her lungs. She'd do whatever she was doing at the top of her lungs. Great. So, okay, I've got that's an too echo the bunny man. What? It's an 80s mix. Okay, so I'm going to pull up. I've got my studio set up a little bit differently now so that I can capitalize on all the space in here. All right, so I've got, put that aside. I've got this piece of paper. It's got this nice, it's just going to turn out white. And no matter how much I focus on it, it's going to be white. But it's got this soft press texture to it. So it'll absorb water pretty nicely. So, all right. So from our layout that I did earlier today, maybe I should keep this around. Excuse me. That's a nice hot cup. All right. Well, you were discussing hot and cold, says Barbara. That's true, I was. Okay. So, today's suggestion is Guy. Guy Gets Gothic toupee. Okay? Now, that comes from Yolanda. Yolanda. I'm not sure what's the accent on it. So, Guy Gets Gothic toupee. So, what I came up with was here is Guy, or our business guy. Boring old businessman. No fun, no humor, no joy. And he goes and stares longingly in the window of a toupee shop, because by the suggestion of Guy Gets Gothic toupee implies that he does not as yet have hair, and therefore requires a toupee. But he sees in the window of hair shop some hair reminiscent of the flock of seagulls from the 1980s. hence listening to 80s music. Pardon me. And so then he goes into this dream moment in this sketched in panel of him just reflecting on, oh, I remember a flock of seagulls. They were so cool. They had the coolest hair. I'm getting that one. And of course, our last panel is a typical business guy once again, but at this point in time, he's got ridiculous hair. Guy got the toupee. How that's gonna, be received by his coworkers. I mean, one of the things that we could do is in the final panel, we can insert two characters in the foreground, one looking over their shoulder. That's in the panel. One looking this way, and the other with the hand out, who is leaning in this way, as they're supposed to be listening to the presentation that old flock of seagulls' hair is giving. And they're like, what's with his hair? I know, right? He's got his gothic toupee. It just doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's going to love it. So, all right. So with that in mind, I think that I'll draw our guy. I'm just going to pencil it in lightly. Now, I've debated using the orange here, but I think I'll initially pencil this, use a light brown here as our sketching value. So nice and neutral, and then we're going to just, the majority of this image is going to be built up using watercolor from this Zorn palette that I referred to. There is the colors, most of the colors. There are the four colors that you're looking, if you're looking to replicate those. There's a yellow, there's a red, there's a brown, there's a blue. And black and white, any other values, any other colors that I have to make them up. Those are the rules, folks. Okay, so I'm going to lightly pencil in our protagonist, and nice guy. He's going to be a nice guy. I keep looking over to check and see if I'm missing conversation. If I am, I apologize. Well, they're called seagulls because they fly over the sea. If they flew over the bay, they need to be called bagels. Thank you, Barbara. Barbara Chicken Pot Pie Society. That's how I read your name in my head, by the way. Barbara. It reminds me of Kelly's Heroes. Just because in that, it's like, hey, Barbara, come on over here. It's Barbara, Chief. Every time. I don't know. All right, so, so we've got a shot of our business guy who's looking very subdued and relaxed and has this prominent top noggin bereft of any follicles, follically bereft. Much like I am endeavoring to become as follically bereft as I can, apparently, over time. Gentle, short steps. One day, chrome doom. My grandfather had whiskers down here, and I should have known by that. That's what my head's going to look like. Because like me, he had platinum hair when he was young, and his hair just went white. And, at my age and the majority of my friends having gray hair, I think I'm in for the same joy. So it's like you wake up one morning and, oh, man, Okay, so just putting in our gentle person here. I don't want to be too detailed in the information that I put down because I'm going to play up with the watercolor application. We're going to have some fun, folks. So I'm going to put the border of the panel edge just right here. So almost another minute, man. It's almost like, you know, drawing it really absolutely as simply as I possibly can and building up any elements purely through the watercolor. Sounds like an approach. No, I'm going to make a mess. I'm going to have some fun and do silly things here because I'm always about trying different things. And honestly, at night, that's what I do. After, you know, Lori, who retires earlier than I do, heads off to Slumberland, I experiment with things and do studies and stuff like that. And that's my nerd time. It's always nerd time. That's what my watch is naturally set to. Nerd time, no watch. Okay. You get the idea. All right, anyways, let's, we got, who are you? What's your name? Hector. Okay, come on over here. Man, I can crush this forever. Okay, and I'm gonna throw the agua over here. And then we'll be doing some little highlights and stuff with pencil cream as well. You know, just plain. Just generally plain. Okay, so you did awesome job creating gray here with pan pastels. Cool. Right on. Yeah, it's you gotta play around with colors. You gotta do what you can and explore. You know, values, build them up over layers sometimes. Working in watercolor with the Zorn palette means mixing X amount of pigment before I start putting any pigment down, which can be problematic, right? But it can also be liberating too. Let me switch the brush that I'm using so you can get more bang out of this guy, because I can make gentler strokes along the image. So I'm going to put in some shapes on his face. What I can do is, if you want to see the palette, I can leave the palette up, but I can also zoom right down in here on our guy. So unfortunately, that means you don't get to see the mixing values. You just get to see the result, the marks being made. So I'm putting together different little shapes in his face, little parts, little planes of it. Putting it together that way, and then that way we'll build it up as we go. It's funny, the brown that I started drawing with, it really does kind of look a little bit like a black. I should have used like a sienna or something. As I'm looking in the image, it's a little dull, but it's there anyways. Got the camera up above here. Trying to pull in one more time. Some little options here. Just give me 1 second. Make sure that I'm set to 1080p, just checking. There we go. Okay, well, you know, there we are. Okay, so, it's challenging because I'm also applying this very lightly, and because I'm going to build up some of these values as I go along. But I want to start pretty softly, and then let structure of his face come through with various applications as we go. All right. I hope everybody had a good day today, got done whatever projects they're working on, or whatever progress that they needed to make today. I think that it's important that you make sure you're getting at the things that you want to do, and then in that way you will be able to feel a little fulfilled about getting rid of the woulda, shoulda, couldas, and well, I tried. It's become a regular basis of your lifestyle. Okay, so I've got this little application here of the little highlights of flesh tone there. I've left some white areas peeking through because we are working in watercolor, but I'm pulling some yellow ochre and I'm bringing it down to the Prussian blue, and we're making a really slight green. It's kind of like a sap green, but it works as a wonderful graying agent. I think when you put it into areas that you want shadow applied to it. I find that this is a fun way to start. And it just gives a little bit of differentiation in the skin, the surface of the skin. This is some replacements now. It's awesome. It's a fun playlist that I've got on. Okay, so there's a little bit of green peeking in here now. We can put together the green and our vermilion mix. We can make a brown, put it in similar areas. Sometimes you want to do different things. You don't want to always. I tend to switch on the daily for what medium that I'm using, and the reason that I do that a lot is because I get bored. I get bored really easy, and I'm not one for jumping on the wagon with everybody's going to do this thing. Well, I'll look at those things and I'll try to figure out how to incorporate them into my thing, but big projects I come at them really fast. And it was the same way when I was in school. Super nerd. But you got 2 weeks to work on this project, kids. And take it home at the weekend and try to figure out how you're going to do it. And I take it home at the weekend and I just go after it. So it's supposed to take 2 weeks, Leslie. I used to get that all the time. Okay, this has gone completely over my head. Who is this dude? Looks like he has a civil service job. He is. He's a civil service job. He's a boring banking guy. That whether he's a banker or a civil service guy or whatever it is, In my mind, it's Dullsville. So this is more of these little green values that I've been putting together. But I've got it mixed with some of that flesh tone that I put together in order to give it a little bit of energy, a little bit of life. So I'm going to take that vermilion that I'm using in building up this flesh tone. I'm going to put a little bit of the burnt sienna in there. And cut some of these harder values in here. Da-da-da-da-da. I work fairly quickly, but I also do really light applications here, so you'll start seeing some results in no time. But, okay, it's fairly grayed out in the image. I don't know how to get, let me try changing the color intensity. Let me see if we can pull that up. Yeah, it's really yellow. Tune down that. No, I guess not. I'm just trying to bring some. There we go. I got some color in it now. Okay, that's a little something more, anyways. So I'm bringing up a little more color into the guy's face as we go along. So here's our not very exciting civil servant guy. If you work as a civil servant, you know, not saying you're all boring. This guy is. So let's get some more this earth tone mixed in here with sienna. So let's ochre back in here. And then we'll come back in and we'll go so now we're starting to add some shapes and interesting little movements in his forehead. But no matter what, he's bald. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, you can see it a little better. I just wanted to check over there and see how that was registering in the screen. I'm sorry, I needed to enhance the color intensity there. I'm learning. We're all in this together, folks. That's while I'm at it. Why don't I see if I can zoom in a little more then? Excuse me. All right, yeah. Let me get my my face off of here, and then try this and see what that gives me. I'm gonna go machine. I think this is going to improve focus a little bit better. Okay, so I'm bringing in a little more blue, a little more of green into certain places, like above his eye. Boy. Yum, 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 yum. So now doing some heavier value punches here, just to move us forward. Get into his suit in a second. So I still haven't used any black. I tend not to. I tend to build up nice charcoals built by browns and blues. And the Prussian blue and the sienna work really well together in order to build, a nice deep gray. There we go. Some more marks there. Give a little contour to his head. There we go. All right, into the suit. Using this light application of gray here, as I had gone before. Are you putting lines in his forehead? Likely not, if he's a civil servant. Goes into work at 8 and leaves at 4. Yeah, well, I put, not that I do much of a registered lining through his, people's portraits when I'm doing them, but people do furrow their brow, and there is grooves that sit in place, even if you're like, oh, yeah, you're still going to define grooves in your forehead. So, you're inevitably always going to end up having those. So I finally sat down and listened to this big interview relating to Rick Rubin's new book, where he talks about the creative process and governing set of rules that he has worked by. And this is big music producer Rick Rubin. Found it interesting. I'm not one for listening to this positive, hey, here's the way to be fulfilled in your blah, 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 blah. I tend not to be one of those guys that ever engages in reading or searching out those things. But, enough people I know are checking it out and feeling greatly inspired by it. So I haven't read his book, but I appreciate what he had to say. It's just, a lot of that's the same sort of mentality I tend to have towards creativity. Just do it for yourself. I'm not worried about any audience on any level. I'm trying to make it so that whatever I am producing can be accessed by others. but creatively, the determinations of others' expectation, it doesn't affect me at all. I don't like that. You should have used the blue. You should have used the blue. Do your own. Yeah. Well, not that bad, but you know what I mean. Um, this will happen. This will come up. Is you're working in any way that inevitably somebody's always going to say like, and this isn't referring to what Barbara was saying there about the boardhead. That was just a great comment about civil servants, but um, but I've had people. You should do this instead. You should you should do less of that and do more of this. The reason I started plotting some of these nighttime streaming opportunities is that there's a part of me that says, well, during the day I'll do one pages, sure, but I'm technically cheating and doing one tonight, but um, there's a lot of other things that I do in the studio here, and there's a lot of other things I'd like to explore and to encourage others to explore creatively themselves in order to maybe help them in their journey. Some of the weird practices I have about, like I showed earlier with composition. So I'm going to be doing more of that on the YouTube channel. And, see how that goes. Dun, dun. All right, I'm going to make a little bit more green. I got a new stool, a stool chair in the studio. And since I got this, Lori ordered it for me. Well, since this has been incorporated into the space, I am so comfy when I'm working now. Important that we get that sort of stuff organized. I'll listen to the Sugar Cubes, which is the band that Bjork was in before she went off and did her solo career. It's an Icelandic group where she does her Bjork thing, but there's also this guy who says, "That girl on the bicycle, she looks so splendid." Love it. Nice amount of weirdness for me. So the green and the blue, these little applications in here, just to keep it funky fresh. Pretty loose though. It's pretty loose. Debating on, yeah, I think I'm just gonna try. So this is our first panel coming together from the little quick sketches that I did earlier today, plotting out this page. Oh, the cat's upstairs doing something. Still in panel. Let's move that down a little bit. Looks like he's wearing an Arrow shirt purchased at Eaton's. Very specific. There, it's sort of flat yellow. I'll pull the camera back just a little bit. Get that all in there. Yeah, so doing the ochre as this background color, because there's not a lot of it really as a prevailing value in the rest of them. I just thought the yellow ochre would be a nice, beautiful color that sort of plays in with the others, because there's green through here. You know, there is some green through the face as well, and that green is built up from the yellow ochre. So, you know, and then now I'm going to use some of that sienna to I'm going to use this sienna here and put this in his tongue. And we're going to, so I work fairly lightly, fairly translucently, so I can build up colors. The person I was learning watercolor from when I was in high school was a fellow named Brian Fry. And as a painter, Brian Fry would, or still does, I'm not sure if Brian's still with us or not, but he would build up abstract compositions with numerous thin little washes. And he would build up this absolute wonder of different colors by thin glaze applications of different washes over different space, different parts of this geometric layout of on the paper. And so learning from a person like that, you tend to have some sort of appreciation for the patience of that, and that you can get some more sophisticated colors and images by approaching it that way. Not to say that there's not a lot, you know, I got no problem with, you know, people with thick, heavy hits when they're working with their brush, but I find that can get really quickly that can become ungainly. Now that I think about it, he looks like the Bronze Eaton's dude. Maybe a little bit, yeah. Come on, kids, get in the car. We're going to Eaton's. Oh, Dad! Get in the car. Maybe that's not how the commercial went. Okay, so I'm really just putting some vermilion on the brush at this point. And no, I closed the door to my studio, so one of the cats is losing their mind right now trying to get in. You did it! Holy camole! I can't believe you got through there. Hi. You gonna come in and join? Let me move your stool. There you go. You want to say hi? You got a visit from Corbin, everybody. All right. There he is. Hey! Oh, I turned the me camera off. Hold on a sec. Holding you up to say hi to everybody, and nobody can see you. Okay. Here we go. You ready? Hey, what's up, Eddie? How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Mm-hmm. All right, sit in your stool. Cat's crazy, man. So, using this vermilion, I'm putting in little hits here. Hey, how you doing, Frank? Welcome aboard. Frank Salazar, folks. He's got a couple of different channels going on the UF Tubes, one of which is principally about his role-playing game. It's a lot of fun. One of my sons is really he is deep down that rabbit hole. I told him to check out Frank's channel. Sean does. He's a campaign guy for a number of different groups, and it's real interest for folks. So while I'm working, Corbin is sitting on his stool and licking my elbow. This is helping. This is what he believes, anyways. Okay. And so there's our first face now coming together. Came at the red, putting the vermilion red in here. It can be really overpowering, which is why I sort of wanted to introduce it at the end, just so that it doesn't just take over from everything else. But once you do apply it, it sort of brings a little bit of life to the character. Good. My husband helps me around the house. He stays away. I have a couple of videos I need to work on for Roll for Taraco. I like the name of Frank's channel, Roll for Taraco. Good fun. Okay. So I'm just going to put a couple of little deeper hits here now. In the t-shirt. Trying to think of which. Let's put this tie in. Striped tie, the only way to fly. Interested, as always, in what everybody's working on. People are welcome to express what they've got going on at the moment. Any projects that they're undertaking. Barbara, are you doing a scavenger hunt there? That's detailed amongst Janet Young's channel. I'll check the chat in a second, folks. So I've got, this is sienna, and they mixed with a Prussian blue to build up this very muted gray. Okay, what am I missing? Robert says he needs a front pocket with one of those plastic inserts inside to hold his pens. I actually have one of those because weird. doing. It's done. All 100 prompts. Oh my gosh, good for you. Good for you, Barbara. Did you have fun? Did you enjoy doing that? And is that something that you want to pursue doing a little bit more of? Okay, so I'm going to a couple of touches with the pencil crayon here. Oh, Corbin harasses me madly. So this is this brown. And I've got a pencil that is it says Roman red, but really it's a type of sienna. But of course it's a Roman red. All right, so let's put okay. Barbara says she loved it. She enjoys the challenge. Swatches and says swatches, and I cut out pages of swatch watches. I don't think that's entirely what's meant by swatches. I've noticed that a number of people are doing color swatch pages. That's really great if it's to figure out some color theory. And when you start applying that, that's it's immeasurable because you just sort of start thinking about how the color combinations go together, and really informs decisions that you make when you're utilizing color. And a number of those, as I was learning color. And again, this is about 30 years ago for me now. I really, and a lot of people do. A lot of people do, do them on a regular basis to keep fresh with it. But I tend to use color all the time, so that's the same thing as doing swatches all the time. But I do know one friend of mine who likes to do color swatches as just a sort of an aside. When they don't want to paint compositions, they'll just paint swatches. And so, power to you. That's great. Okay. All right. So now, last thing, I'm going to come in with a little bit of this. So I think it's a navy blue is what they call it, but it's very similar to the Prussian blue. And I'm just going to add it to the lines that I put in with the brush. I'll be back to the chat in just a sec. This is a green that I'm putting in rather than doing the blue again on this part. Doing it with the green just sort of makes it a little more fun. It's the first bit of watercolor really that I've done in a while. Not too bad. Okay, so there's our first panel. Practice, I'm just cutting out some paper miniatures that I printed out for a game I found online. Oh, that's good fun, Frank. Do you color these as well, or they come colored? Janet Young says tag, and I cut out an ad for a tag wash or for a tog wash. Tog, what is tog? Oh, tag. Yeah, okay. I'm keeping up. I love messing with her head. Oh yeah, you got to do it. You got to kick up the snark. Stir it up. Stir up a snark factor. The snark factor. Okay, so we've got our dude here in our first panel. Now, the way that I laid out my idea, bring this down in here. So there's our panel one. Here's our business guy. Now we need to put our business guy looking into the window of a toupee shop. Right, Corbin? These are black and white. I left them uncolored. Or I never finished. Well, there you go. Depends on how many you're doing, right? Right, Corbin? Okay. What are you doing, buddy? Stop looking my hair. Okay, so now we're going to come at the back of his head. Corbin, you helping? Corbin saying hi, everybody. So I'm drawing in our guy here. Shape that top of his head just a little bit differently. Now I'm using the wrong red here. So I'm twisting it to put together this composition here. Okay. Gotta keep the sidekick happy. All right. Somebody told me earlier today that they prefer the drawings that include Corbin. It's an interesting lesson, but I prefer the images that include Corbin. I appreciate that. If he had his way, he'd be in every page I drew. That's a lot of drawing this maniac. Okay, so I'm drawing our guy looking in the window. So we got him here, and then we're just going to duplicate some of these colors that we've got there. But let's put together the rest of the image. You leaving? That's it? He's actually taking his chair across from me here in the studio. He sleeps in a wingback chair, and then Baby, my other cat, she sleeps in the chair that accompanies the long couch that I have. It's kind of like an Edith Bunker, Archie Bunker sort of thing going on with how those cheap chairs look. Okay, so I'll be doing some mannequins in these windows. Firebolt's joined us. Hi, Firebolt. What's this story about? Okay, so today's suggestion, for those that are jumping in here, guy gets gothic Guy gets a gothic toupee, and that comes from Yolanda. Guy gets gothic toupee. So I've broken it down as guy, business guy, bald, right? Why else would you get a toupee? And for a party, and so here he is, business guy doing business guy things, which I've interpreted in a finished image as business guy watercolor. So now we've got business guy looking into the wig shop. I'm not sure what wig shops are called. I think they're mastectomy or mastectomy. There's something similar to another word, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, I'm terribly sorry. It might be, I can't remember. There's a shop, I gotta look it up, but what the person, the seller of wigs is. Anyhow, so here he is looking longingly in the window at the window display where he sees some pretty ridiculous hair. And this makes him have a fond reminiscence back to the Flock of Seagulls, back in the 80s, which is why I've got different 80s tunes. Can't get through my head, like right now it's the Stone Roses. What song was that, Chris? Their only song. Anyways. So here he is thinking back to the Stone Roses, Flock of Seagulls, I'm sorry, with their crazy hair. And so the final panel is our business guy back here in the office, and he is doing a report to everybody with his crazy hairpiece now. Very gothy, ornate, and there's two people in the office that are in the foreground whispering to one another, what is with his hair? I know, right? So there's the 4 points of story in this page. We've got panel 1 put together. I'm now lightly drawing in panel 2, and that way we can pursue this a little bit further. And I'm debating on what to draw what's inside the window with. I'm trying to think of mannequin. What do you call that? The little head bust that they would use to put the wigs on, and how they're really not. There's not really a lot of definable features. There's sort of a soft edge concavities to the eyes and to the inset of the nose. So I'm just trying to figure out how to go about putting together a couple of those in the window. And then, of course, we're going to put ridiculous hair pieces on them. And as he's looking longingly at this display, is where it's going to take us to the next step. So thank you for the question, Barbara, and if that helps anybody that's joined in. I found a great message for a t-shirt prompt. I can't afford a doctor. Go to the airport, you get a free x-ray, breast exam, and if you say something political, you get a colonoscopy. I got all political today. I answered in a chat. I said, I know which American president I'm voting for. Which means nothing because I'm Canadian and clearly not voting American. But let's not get political, man. Okay, so yeah, I'm really indecisive right now. That's about as politics as I get. I could care less. All politicians are the same. Oh no. I made a couple signs for my front yard. I've got a sign of from Highlander, the film, and it's got Connor McLeod on it with his sword. It says there could be only one. Vote Connor McLeod. And I've got a sign for Darth Vader. Join the dark side, it says. I'm prepared in case I have to, cover my place with political signs. I'm ready. Okay, so first bust here, I'm going to put a, I'm not sure what kind of hair this is, but the hair flares out at the bottom like so. Okay, and then I'll have, okay, don't get too carried away. So then I'll do another one of these mannequin heads, or whatever you call them, display heads for hair pieces. So here's another one of those. And then the third one, right here in the back, peeking through from the others, is going to be the flock of seagulls hairpiece. Now, what kind of haircut should this be? It's something with a heavy amount of bangs. That's that. So there's the second hairpiece. And then we'll put our third one in behind. I think those heads for displaying their hairpieces are called foam heads. Not to be confused with cone heads. Isn't that how they laugh? Isn't that how the cone heads laugh? Anyways. I don't know what flock of seagull hair looks like. Didn't they do I ran so far away? I wonder if they still have that hair. Wouldn't that be great? Guys in real ages, late 50s, 60s, still have that ridiculous hair. Okay, so what do we got? Okay, ridiculous. I'm still in frame there for you. Yeah. His hair looks like something out of Buck Rogers. So here's our third. Our third hairpiece. Now I'm going to put in a frame around this window, and then we'll now I don't want a tangent here. What a tangent is if I put the line for the base of the window go up to his chin, then you're going to just run the face and the window into one another, and that serves no purpose. So we don't want to do stuff like that. And we'll do the same. What do we got? I got you. Go with you. Okay, so, and then I'm going to put in a brick motif under the window. Get all this painted in. And there's our next one. Okay, so there's our roughed in composition for our next scene. Need those wigs that they wear at the Old Bailey in the UK. Yeah, I suppose. Let's see, I'll throw one in the background just for you. And then that's a. I'll just throw one here. I'll panel for that. And here's some lighting up above. I'll get into that. So I'm gonna do. What are you doing? Let's play with this. Toys in the studio here. So I'm just building in some of the shapes of the face with the, like I did in the first panel. I'll turn this a little bit so it's a little bit easier to see. Sorry about that. Okay, so what I'm doing is that I'm building up the flesh tones of our main guy. And we're working up shape of his face by doing it this way and building up these different surfaces. Little divot behind the ear. Do a little of the sienna in there just to give a little more weight to that. And then we'll build up the complexity of it as we go here. But there's the start of this cat, and we already know his shirt, but let me get into the brickwork here. Put this face sort of value down. We'll start to make a little more sense of the layout of the panel here. Now, a lot of people will just paint the brick as a flat color. It's not. There's if you look at a brick, oftentimes you'll see the little channels that run along the side face of a brick for water to roll through. You want to put stuff like that in there. But we'll give this a second. I'm just going to do a couple of hits of value up in here. Listen to the cars now. It's a fun playlist. We're putting together that gray from the sienna and the Prussian blue. A little hit of it there. A little lip under the window. And we'll do the same thing at the bottom of each of the bricks. Come back at that. How much is that wing in the window? I don't know. Stop. My one cat baby, she's 15, and she is so infuriating at times. She doesn't, if she just walks around the chair, and she would just step up onto the top of the chair. But she would sooner drag her claws into it and pull herself up this way because she's a fat old cat. I'm looking right at you. She's looking at me all offended. Okay, so I've got these surfaces being put together here for the window frame now. And then we're going to get into the window itself. So I'm just putting in some of the structural colors around the window display. Lawn break here. I'll do a brown wig. Yeah, I touched the black for the first time. And then we'll do a slight gray. Into this judge's wig. And then a little hit of black to get another off-panel wig. Barbara says, a new story line. I'm not sure he's actually looking at the weights. I think he's looking in the window to see if he can determine who's following him. That's fun, Barbara. All right, so I think I'm going to come at this flock of seagulls weight with putting the value, like the tonal value, underneath the hair. Well, I'll show you what I mean, but I'm going to have a lot of cast light from up above. Okay, now we're going to do a little bit of something in. Just add a little bit of dimension to the mannequin heads, the foam bits of business, whatever it's called. And listen to the house martins. Fun. I'm trying to have this consistency to these faceless mannequin masks. Sorry, I'll get back to chat in a second. There. See, there'll be a heavier piece of shadow underneath the hair. We'll get into that. I'll get into that. Hey, how you doing, Yolanda? I'm doing your suggestion. This is the Guy Gets a Gothic Toupee. This is a suggestion that came from Devin Rex for Art, my friend Yolanda. And so I'm just building up the composition here. We've got the first panel where we introduce our business guy, follically challenged business guy. And then here's our follically challenged business guy looking in the window for his toupee of choice. You know what? Barbara gave a suggestion earlier that I think is fun, and I'm going to write it down. Guy looks in window, in shop windows, to see who's following him. Because we're not going to pursue that we're not going to pursue that on this piece, but and that's Barb Ra. It's an Egyptian name. No, it's not. I know it's not. Okay, so I've got the basic intent with the colors, and now I'm going to build them up a little bit. Baby, what are you doing now? Lie down. Sorry, I'm talking to my old cat here. So I've mixed up a bit of this charcoaly blue color. Cool. Why, thank you. So it's really opaque. So I'm building up these mannequin faces. I'll fix that nose. But I'm also doing some of this underlighting from the hair. Oh, that's funny. Another flock of seagulls came on in my playlist. Just put this up. You have two different goes. Is that a fox in the back row of wigs? That's a flock of seagulls hair wig. That's we've got a judge's wig. We've got a brown bob. We've got a blonde. I don't know what you call it, but it's like the '60s go-go girl hair. And but that is the hair from the flock of seagulls. So I'm going to have him buy this flock of seagulls hair. So the intention for the page breaks down as so. Business guy, first panel. Okay, guy gets gothic toupee. Business guy, bald, looks in the shop, the wig shop for a toupee of choice, chooses the flock of seagulls one, as because in the third panel he's reflecting on how much he loved the flock of seagulls in the 80s, specifically their hair. And so in the last panel, he's presenting his business report back in the office again, but he's dressed up like a gothic fop wearing flock of seagulls hair. And there's two people in the foreground going, "What is with Dave's outfit?" I know, right? So that's the intention of the page. Now, it could be called silly. But, you know, generally, my stuff can get called silly a lot. So I'm putting the grooves into the bricks. Just the first little whack at these. While I'm listening to the primitives now. 80s music bonanza, folks. What am I missing? Ah, yes, the flock. Not to be not to be confused with the squeeze, the polite squeeze hair cuts that that nice little band had at the same time. I think if I remember correctly, everybody in Squeeze had like a shaved head, just like a buzz cut. Maybe it was just a couple of them. And I just but for some reason I think that they had like buzz cut hair. I think they're Australian or New Zealanders, and they look like such nice boys. Okay. The playlist that I'm listening to is playing Crash by the Primitives. And maybe a dozen songs ago, I played Motor Crash by the Sugar Cubes. One of my favorite songs. from the 80s. But not my favorite song by the Sugar Cubes. That's Birthday. But what's great about Motor Crash by the Sugar Cubes is the guy who talks sings in the band. Icelandic band. That girl on the bicycle, she looks so splendid. Ooh, let's keep pushing. What time we at? 12:30. Yeah. Wrap up in a few. So, the intention here is to put the hair, the wig of choice here, I'm going to have it lit up from above so that the focus is on this specifically. That's why I'm putting more depth to the other mannequins and hair pieces, but that one's just going to be glowing. I'm not familiar with the Sugar Cubes. Sugar Cubes is the Icelandic pop band that Bjork was in before she went solo. And so you've got her going, don't go that bicycle, you know, and as with the other singer of the group is like, that girl on the bicycle. Just look up Motor Crash on YouTube. Look up Motor Crash by the Sugar Cubes. And I'll just say it to you now. You're welcome. You're going to have a reaction to it one way or another. There's other songs where he talks sings far more prominently, but that Mom and Dad are shouting at me that if I know what's good for me, I better be in bed with the lights off and no device in use. Thanks, Christopher Knight. Good night. Take care, Barbara. Thank you. I've heard of Bjork. Yolanda says I'll check him out. Yeah, I really enjoy the Sugar Cubes. The album that they put out called Life's Too Good, just a fantastically fun album. But an Icelandic sort of new wavy punk group, you know, this really weird little brunette gal who's just hollering like a banshee. But she's also got that lovely voice of hers with a really interesting, pronunciation because she's Icelandic. But it's the guy who's that girl on the bicycle. She looks so splendid. There's so many. Just gonna look up. I wish I could put it on and play it here. Yeah, I'll be listening to Sugar Cubes tomorrow because of this. Yeah, Life's Too Good. That's the name of the album. Delicious Demon is a really great song because he's the prominent two persons will call someone who holds the water, but it takes two to hold the water. And then she starts going, two hands, anyways, it's ridiculous fun. So I haven't put a lot of, it's like I said with the first panel, it sounds like SNL, Hans and Franz. Well, yeah, kind of. They're Icelandic, right? So it's, you know, it's got that Eurasian kind of pronunciation of things, Eastern, the Viking, the Scandinavian. Yeah, hello, you're just a funny man, that sort of jazz. But good fun. Ooh, now it's talking heads. We got a song where he goes, "She is sick. She's sick for toys." It's ridiculous. Anyway. All right, so I'm just going to put basic starting washes here in the shirt. That's our business guy is pining at the window. And, I'll build this up and, keep things rolling along with the piece. I'll have this all done and posted for, I left it up, I'm sorry. And I'll have this all posted for tomorrow's one-page story. Yes, just sit down. But I think I'm going to call it. It's after 12:30, and in case I'm talking too loud, my wife's in the bedroom that's on the different floor from where I am. So I don't want to. In case she can hear me, I don't want to keep her up. So Yolanda says, "I love the Talking Heads. That was my jam in the '80s. Stop Making Sense. Awesome concert movie. Oh yeah, it was fantastic. And I also liked. Oh my gosh, what's it called? It's not making sense. The concert one's amazing, but True Stories, isn't it? True Stories. Hi, how are you? I'm here in Texas. He's driving in a convertible. That's genius. That's a genius film. It's just weird enough, and it's the film that launched the career of John Goodman. So, yeah, that's I totally hear you on that one, Yolanda. All right, so I'm going to sign off. I'll have this posted. Looking forward to seeing the finished page tomorrow. Thank you. That's very nice of you. And I appreciate the suggestion. Anybody else that has random ideas or 3-word prompts or anything like that they want to throw at me as challenges, I got one out of Barbara tonight. Guy looks in shop windows to see who's following him. You're always welcome. I don't shy away from any of them. I'll eventually end up catching up to all the suggestions I've been given, but this is a lot of fun, and it's different ways to explore storytelling, different ways to explore creatively how I draw these, or I illustrate these, or I paint them, or whatever medium that I'm using. I think tomorrow's page I might do on a jelly-plated surface, just again shake it up because of switching directions constantly about what style I'm working in each day. But thanks so much. Oh yeah, look up True Stories, Talking Heads. You're gonna love it. It's Byrne. He's the lead character, and it's the whole soundtrack is Talking Heads. They're actually in the whole movie, and it's the film that goes along with the album True Stories. Okay, thanks so much, and I appreciate everybody coming by. I'll definitely be back 2 p.m. tomorrow, 2 p.m. EST, for my regular daily stream. But in the meantime, bye for now. Thanks so much, everybody.